Welcome to Curated by Culture. I just forgot I was recording that quickly. Um, Welcome to Curated by Culture. I am your curator, Cassandra. Thank you as always for joining me. I really appreciate you all joining. Um, First things first, how's your head? How's your heart? You know what I'm going to say. Don't forget to check in with yourself, friends. Please, it is very, very, very important. Um, so every time I think the Levolution is about to end, God's like, I have another one for you. I have another one for you. So I've really talked about ending this at least 3 episodes ago, and God's like, I have a few more I need you to talk about because the world is in need of love, and so the Levolution must continue you know, until He says. It's not up to me, unfortunately, because if it was up to me, I wouldn't be doing any of this. I don't know if I ever really shared how this even came to be, this whole podcast. And in my mind, I think it was from people saying you really should have a podcast. Like, if you've ever had a conversation with me, whether we're out to dinner or on the phone or whatever, it's never been 5-10 minutes and you're never bored from it. Right. I love perspective. I love a different perspective. Even if it's not my perspective, I'll be like, well, what if it was this? Like, just hear me out. I always say that, just hear me out. Like, because I've listened and I've talked to so many people in my time here on this planet that I'm like, I'm always offering a fresh perspective. I really, and I've said this before, I really believe there's more than one way to be right. I don't believe that just it's just one way and that's it, and I really do. um I know the word empathy is used a lot, so I don't want to use that. I want to use a different word, but I feel for people so hard. I'm a feelings person. I can feel energy when I'm in a space, good and bad, which is hard, which is why I do tell people, like, I like to spend time by myself because of energies, right? Because sometimes you have people who, negative energy is draining. If and I'm such a positive energy type of person that when I'm like in those types of spaces, I'm like, ugh, I have to get out of here. Anyway, totally off topic, right? So the Levolution will continue. So yeah, I was saying, if you've ever had a conversation with me, if you've ever spent time with me, I love to have good conversations. I love talking to young people, especially because they're the future, and how they view and see things is so, like, important to me, because I'm like, I always come to them with my wisdom. Like, I've done this, I've lived life. I'm not a person who just was born and raised in the New York, New Jersey area and I just stay here. I've gone places, I've seen things, I've done things, I've experienced things. I am fully a person who believes that everything that I've experienced in life has happened for me and for my benefit, and it's gotten me to this point. Um, I'm almost 20 years in my business, and I feel blessed to be able to share that wisdom with people when it comes to business, but also in life. I've experienced a lot of different things, loss, heartbreak, love, excitement, all of it. And so that's how this came to be. God was like, I need you to do a podcast. And I was like ignoring him. I was like, child, I'm not doing that. And the more conversations and the more I talk to people, people would be like, you should have a podcast, or you should have a show, or you should be on somebody's show where you talk about these things. And so this is how it came into be. I thought it was people, but really it was God. He was like, okay, you don't want to hear from me. I was ignoring him for a really long time, but here I am. I did start podcasting in 2020, though. I will say that. Like, I was really pushing for it. I tried it with other people. I just realized that my message is by myself. Like, just like my businesses, I don't have too many business partners because I'm such a one type of person. It's hard to explain. Again, off topic. Anyway, um I did check in with everybody, right? Okay. So the Levolution continues. I've talked about teenage love. I've talked about loving like children. I've talked about community love. I've talked about my love of hip hop, which, if you know me, you know how much I love hip hop. I've talked about generational love. I have a few more love episodes, but I really didn't want to not have this one because I feel like more and more God is really nudging me to talk about this. So I was like, let me just get it out the way because it is a hot topic. If you've been with me for the both seasons, last season and I probably talk about this on every episode because it's the most obvious of the loves, but our love for one another, not as humans, but men and women. And I'm always gonna have to speak from a standpoint as a black man, a black woman, because that's what I am. So I don't believe we are monolithic. So sure, this could be for any culture, any race of people, but what did I say? Race of people, any color, anybody. I don't want to say race because we're all human race, right? Um, but this could be for anybody, but I'm a Black woman, so I can only speak as a Black woman, and so um I've talked about my time on TikTok. As you know, I have two accounts. I have one where I talk about where it's really just weddings, flowers, interiors, old homes, all art, all the pretty things, all the things that are related to my business for obvious reasons. And then I have my podcast TikTok where I'm really diving into the culture. This podcast is titled Curated by Culture. So where else to find my content than the culture, right? I'm listening to what people are saying, and I've said this before, so if you're if you're new here or whatever, um if you are a parent, you have children on TikTok, especially children under the age of 18, please remove them immediately. I urge you. TikTok is not for everyone. It's not for children, contrary to popular belief. We really thought it was for the kids because it was dances and it was this and that, but it's not for the kids. TikTok is for the adults. It's for strong-minded people, especially because TikTok is like an open forum. It's like anybody can comment. And I know you're going to say, so is Instagram. Instagram is not like that at all. After having spent time on both apps, I really realized TikTok is more open to anybody to see your stuff just because they kind of like the same things as you. Whereas Instagram, you kind of have to be following that person or looking for that person to stumble upon their work. It's not, unless you pay for it, which I refuse to do. Like, I refuse to pay any social media platform to do anything for me, which probably is why I don't even post on Instagram anymore, because it has become probably opposite of what I thought it was when it first started. But that's a conversation for another day. The kids are not okay on there, and they shouldn't be on there. I've talked about this before. Our brains don't fully develop until 25. And this is a fact. It's a scientific fact. It's not me just throwing out theories. It is a scientific fact. Our brains don't develop till we're 25. So knowing that and knowing that TikTok is not for the weak, get your kids off of there. Now, if you don't know what TikTok is, it is literally just a social platform. You can say it and do whatever. And I think people are being their most authentic selves on there, and they're saying whatever, but they're also expressing their traumas and their grievances with different people. And the biggest conversation that I see is between men and women, specifically Black men and women. I'm sure white people are doing it too, but my For You page is not built that way, right? Or other cultures. Let me not just say white people. I'm sure everybody's having it. Hispanics, Asians, I'm sure everybody's having the same conversations, but I'm only seeing my people. Um, and what I'm hearing and seeing, to me, is one, I am excited that they're open to having these conversations. I think they're very important. I think the conversations are necessary, but I'm cringing at how the conversations always go. On the men's side, I'm hearing, a lot of hurt in their voices, a lot of sadness in their voices. It's only coming out as anger. And on the women's side, I'm seeing a lot of what's the right word? Lack of respect, a lack of love. But I also understand and see sometimes lower standards. So I really want to talk about a lot of those things. And I've already had these types of conversations on this before. Like, if you listen to my podcast last season, I did an episode titled Venus and Mars. I didn't say Venus versus Mars. And that to date has been one of my most listened to episodes. I probably should go back and listen to it because I really don't remember what I said. I don't remember what I said last week even. So there's that. But I know that this is where I am and this is where God wants me to be. I need to spend some time on it because I think it's important. If we're going to evolve as a culture, as a people, we really need to get to a place where we understand each other. And there's such a lack of understanding of each other, and it saddens me. And I mean that in the most sincere way. I really do get sad when I see these people, these young people on TikTok or any other place, podcast or whatever, having conversations that I'm like, but it could be all so simple. Society has created a lot of our problems. This is the reality of life. Like, this dates back to even before I was born, before my mom. This dates back from years and years and years. We're not going to get into a history lesson, but I'm going to state obvious facts. You know, when our people were enslaved many, many moons ago, we had no rights. We had nothing. You know, you had a group of men, um, palm colored men, who would kill our men, black men, who would rape our women, black women, and this went on for years, right? For years, and probably still does to this. I mean, not probably, but it still does to this day. But what happened was, sorry, I had to turn my phone off. What happened was, you know, that is kind of how society dictated so many things and how we are where we are today. That turned into, okay, there was freedom for slaves, and I put up the air quotes because I say that lightly, freedom for the enslaved. And you know, if you move on through time, black men were arrested, black men could went to war to fight for a country that didn't care for them. They came back, couldn't find jobs. Women had to figure things out. They're turned into poverty. We got thrown into ghettos. We got thrown into, I mean, so many things happened to us. And this is the conversation I promise you we will have in more depth, but today's not the day, because I really want to focus on love. I don't want to focus on the negative things that happen to us. I want to focus on the love and getting to a more understanding place, and a place where we can love one another properly. And I'm talking about men and women, and this tragic relationship we have with each other from a lack of understanding each other. I have so many points to make that I'm like, wait, where do I start? Understanding that for centuries, the black woman is the least protected woman. Brother Malcolm said it how many years ago? How many years ago did Malcolm X say, we want to take away Malcolm X, let's go to somebody else? Tupac. Tupac said, ooh, let me use his lyrics. Now, you know, Tupac is, if you listen to Love of Hip Hop, you know Tupac is not even in top 10. So I don't know his lyrics as well. But I know he said, since we all came from a woman, got our name from a woman, and our game from a woman, I wonder why we take from a woman, why we rape our women. Do we hate our women? I think it's time we killed for our women. Please don't do that. Be real to our women. Try to heal our women. Because if we don't, we'll have a race of babies that will hate the ladies who make the babies. And that, to me, I'm like, Pac, that was profound back then. Here we are in 2023, the year of our Lord. Wait, let me finish it, because he says, and since a man can't make one, he has no right to tell a woman when and where to create one. I agree with that fully, especially with what's happening in our country. But Pac said that how many years ago? At least 20 something years ago. My daughter's 23 this year. So at least 20 something years ago. And still here we are. And we definitely have an entire generation of kids who, as I'm watching them, they blame their mothers for everything. These men are blaming their mothers for everything. They blame everything on something that happened to them from a woman. If you listen to Teenage Love, I talked about that real life playground hurt. A lot of these men that I'm watching have come from that place where a woman hurt them and they're taking it out. And like I said before, we don't have anybody to turn around and be like, no, son, no, king, no, bro. Like, that's not the way. Ladies, learn to understand the men a little bit better, especially black men. Ladies, I really urge you to try to get to understand them a little better. As black women, we know how much we are disliked in this country, in America, in the world, in some spaces, right? Black men deal with the same thing. Yes, they have a one up on us because they're men, but black men literally deal with the same thing. Like, understand that, okay? So when we take the time to understand that, we can understand some of their hurts and some of their frustration. Men, if you keep choosing physical beauty, you're going to keep getting hurt over and over again. And I'm not telling you don't choose your type. If you see a woman and you like a specific type of woman, I get it, I understand it. But 9 times out of 10, especially the men with money, because this is the discourse, a lot of it is, if you don't have money, women don't love you unconditionally. That's not true. A good woman will love you unconditionally if that's what you want. If you're searching for a good woman, if you're searching for unconditional love, search for a good woman. Now, if you're choosing somebody, if you're choosing the women that you like and you're like, oh, she's pretty because she has this and she has that. And I don't disrespect the BBL girls or the girls who've had plastic surgery or who have work done. No disrespect to them. We all have to feel comfortable in our own skin. So listen, if that's what you chose to do, I respect it. But even with doing that, I hope you do the inner work on yourself to be not only beautiful on the outside, but also to be beautiful on the inside. And men, you need to be more discerning. You're saying that these women are hurting you. You're talking about all the pain you have from a woman. I know men who only choose a specific type of woman. Like, she has to have a big butt. She has to have this and she has to have that. And no disrespect. Like, hey, listen, you like what you like. But if you keep doing the same thing and you keep coming out with the same result, these women are using you for your money. I have somebody I know who literally, these women use him for his money because he has a lot of it. And he continues to choose them. And they'll stay around. But what happened when the well runs dry? You think these women will still be there? I don't know. Maybe they will. Who knows? We don't know because we're not there, right? But I think we need to become more discerning as individuals too. And ladies, there was I saw a clip of it on TikTok, but there was a dude on a podcast and he was talking about, he's a man. He was saying, as a man, men respect women who seem like they'll walk away more than they respect the other women, right? The women that stay. And all the women on TikTok were like, oh, please take the mics away and And of course, I got to jump in there. I'm like, well, hear him out. And I know this is an unpopular opinion, but literally what he's saying, and this is a truth, ladies. So if you're out here and you're dating and you hear something like that and you think, oh my God, like, it's ridiculous, I beg to differ. What he's saying is, I respect a woman with standards. And ladies, truth be told, and I've said this before, we don't, like, a lot of women, we really lack standards. I've said this a million times on this podcast. If a man cheats on you and you're just like, okay, you cheated on me, and you're going to go through that back and forth, and you're going to argue and you're upset and you're all those things, but then you turn around and just take him back. I hate to say this, but he's probably going to keep doing it because you let him do it. And that same man I was talking about before with the money and all this stuff, I've had conversations with him, and he has said things like, once I know I can do that to a woman, it's a whatever. I'm just going to keep doing it. Like, literally, he has said that to me, and I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. If I once I've conquered a woman, that was his exact words. He's like, once I've conquered a woman, I'm going to keep doing it. Now, listen, I know what you're thinking. Like, you just let him say that. Listen, we all have free will to do what we want to do. All I can do is offer my fresh perspective. Whether he takes it or leaves it, I don't know. He also agreed that most men don't tend to grow up until 55. And I've said that before too. Like, it's that tender age of 55 where men are like, oh man, I'm getting older. And sure, you can probably get a younger woman to love and to take care of you if you have money. But what about the demographic of men at 55 who don't have money? What are they going to do? So they got to grow up. Anyway, topic for another day. Got to stick on the positive and the love. What men are saying when they say those types of things are, have standards. And we should have standards, ladies. I'm sorry. Love yourself first. Love yourself enough to know that if somebody was thought so little of you in a moment, in any moment, and I understand things happen, and I'm not going to condemn or criticize. I would never. If you are the woman who took a man back after he keeps cheating on you, I get it. I understand. I mean, listen, we're only human, and the heart wants what it wants, right? But I promise you, it is unlikely that man will stop doing it. And so you kind of just have to sign up for that type of a life. And I hate that for you. Because we're all deserving of love. We're all made in God's image. We're all beautiful. Just like art is subjective, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. We're all beautiful in some shape, way, or form. I've talked about the girl who really liked the guy, but because her friends didn't think he was attractive, she dumped him. And I was like, what? Like, that's so weird. And she was like, I know. She's older now and realized her mistake, but he's a good guy. He's a great dude. He's married. He has a wonderful family. And, I love that for him. He's striving. We need to stop choosing people based on what we see, the physical, or based on what other people think, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we mess up. On TikTok, they've labeled these no good men as Pookies and Ray Rays. And I feel so bad. The sidebar, I feel so bad for the Pookies and the Ray Rays of the world because they are getting dragged on TikTok. Pookie, I care about you and I love you. Ray Ray, same. Like, they are getting dragged on TikTok. Oh my God. Anyway. Stay on topic, girl. We have such a lack of understanding for each other, and we are now here. We are in a place of, everything comes like, everything to men comes with, oh, I have to have money for a woman to love me. And that's a lie. You know, when your values are misaligned, so is your life. Have values and watch your life change. And I say that because I tell people, to be in any sort of relationship with me, I need to know that you know God. You know, what's your moral compass like? I've talked about Diddy's moral compass and him, the lack of it. He doesn't have one. No disrespect to Diddy again. Diddy, let's have a conversation. Um, I just think a lot of it comes from situations. A lot of it comes from the situations that we were put in as children, the situations we grew up in, and also how much a woman will tolerate. When I look at Diddy now, and I'm going to use Diddy as an example in his many relationships, but in this specific situation with this young girl, what is it, Carisha? I don't know her rap name because I don't know her music. That music could be playing and I would not know it was her. Um, but I know it's Carisha, right? Because she has a podcast. Um, and she's like, I'm just having fun, whatever. And I get her stance. She's in her 20s, and here she has this, I guess, billionaire or whatever he is. I don't know his money situation. I do know he owes people money though. Anyway, moving on. Um, when I see that and I hear she's like, she's just having fun, I understand that. I get that part because I've said before myself, on this episode, on this, not this episode, on this platform, your 20s are for exploration. It's for having fun. It's for figuring things out. We are getting to learn ourselves in our 20s. And we need to stop looking at what society says or what culture is saying or what culture is dictating and really take a break from all that noise. This is why social media is so dangerous because we only see what other people are doing and we're not choosing to do our own things, right? We need to really get to understand ourselves in our 20s. So I applaud her for doing whatever. But the other part that really makes me feel kind of like cringy is he's disrespecting you. I get it. You're not in a relationship with him, kind of, sort of. But are you dealing with anybody else? Are you out there doing other things with other people? He is. He had a whole baby, which is weird to me at his big old age. But I mean, that's again, it's not my business. Did he? I no disrespect to you. You know, you good with me. Like I would love to talk to get to know you better if he hears this. I always have to add that thing because I don't judge people, okay? But if we look to ourselves first and get a better understanding of ourselves, it kind of helps us shape our lives a little differently, right? So exploring your 20s. Then when you hit your 30s, you're like, okay, I know what I like and I know what I don't like. So now let me go and seek and let me go and find. But so many of us were thrown into relationships so early in life because of kids, because of I know somebody who got married at almost 19, 20 years old because he was pressured into getting married. And now he's in his late 30s and he doesn't know himself. He doesn't know what real love looks like either. Because real love is loving yourself and choosing yourself first instead of choosing other people first and allowing them to do whatever they want to you and you just sit there in pain. Young people, I really urge you to get to know yourselves first. Have these conversations. These conversations that men and women are having on TikTok are very necessary, but don't just have them to respond. Have them to understand. Have them to get a better understanding of other people. Something I've always prided myself on is I've always wanted to understand people. I have not had many like serious relationships. I was married and most of my long-term relationships. But in the situationships that I've had, I can say that, when I get into anything as I'm dating and I'm gathering data on people, I really want to understand you. I really want to get to understand everyone. And when I say relationships, I mean friendships too. I don't just mean intimate, I'm saying like I have my sisters. I grew up with my sisters. I understand them. We're all so uniquely different. All four of us are so different. And I understand how to approach every situation with them. And I do the same in my relationships. I do the same in my intimate relationships too. Like, before I get even close to being physical intimate with somebody, I really want to get intimate with you. I really want to understand your brain. We don't do that. We choose because society throws sex in our face. Like sex is a probably $1 trillion industry. We are exposed to it at such young ages. We think everything is tied to that physical intimacy. No, like it's probably a longer conversation than the 30 minutes that I usually give myself here. But Physical intimacy is nothing in the grand scheme of things. Sure, there's pleasure in it and you like to be touched and you like to be loved on, but the real intimacy is true intimacy is real love. Choosing to want to understand somebody, choosing to want to learn somebody, choosing to understand why a person moves the way they do. You know, when I hear people say, it's just how I am, I'm like, okay, but why? Tell me why you're that way. And I guarantee you, most people don't know why they're that way. It comes from a lack of understanding. It's we don't understand ourselves, and we truly don't understand each other as men and women, unfortunately. And that's why we are where we are, and that's why these conversations will continue to recycle and recycle. They'll just recycle differently. You know, back in the day, I don't know how we had them. I guess it was barbershop talks and girls, girls getting together. Then eventually podcasts became a thing, and now when you have with social media, you have so much of it, and it's still the same conversation. Every time I log in, I'm like, wow, we're still having this conversation, because we're not listening to each other, we're not trying to understand each other. And until we can do those things, we'll never truly learn how to love each other. We'll never learn. The comedian. Why did I say the comedian Chris Rock? Like, I'm a reporter. Chris Rock, I think, was the person who said women don't love unconditionally unless you have money. And I think the part we all left out of that conversation is, why are we searching for unconditional love within each other, but not receiving or thanking God for his unconditional love for us? You want to understand what unconditional love is? Find God first. So when I talk about your morals and your values, do you know God? That's the root of everything. And to getting to know God is getting to know yourself, because God is in all of us, right? So getting to know God is getting to know yourself. It's that person that he wants you to be. And as you get to do that, then you can go out and step out into the world and say, okay, I'm armed with this. I know this person. I know who God is. I know what my values are. I know what I'm searching for. And now I can start dating. I'm so proud of the child that I raised, because that's literally what she's doing. She is getting to know herself in every possible way. I cried because she didn't want to come back home after college, but I was so proud of her for choosing to step out and make it her own way. She has her jobs and she's living her life. But in that time, I said, don't be so focused on dating other people. Focus on yourself. And she's so hard focused on herself, and now having this relationship with God, that when she is ready to go out and really start dating somebody, I know she's going to find the right person. I know it's going to be something that's real. I know it's going to be unconditional love, as we're all seeking. But we don't understand that. We keep having these same conversations. We don't understand each other. Women don't understand what standards look like. Like, have standards, ladies. When men are saying they respect women that'll walk away, what they're saying is, if you're going to let me just walk all over you, I'm going to walk all over you. But the ladies didn't want to hear that. They were like, please cut the mics, please stop, enough of this. One girl said, I'm always walking away from people and they still keep trashing me. What? Then you didn't walk away, because that's not what's happening. Or you're choosing the wrong men. You're choosing the Pookies and the Ray Rays. I'm sorry, Pookie and Ray Ray. Like, but there are men. There are trash men. Just like there's trash women, there's trash men who are like that, who are horrible, who are awful, and they will use women. There's good and bad in everything, right, ladies and gentlemen? And for the men who keep saying all women do this, all women do that, you have to figure out for yourself why you keep choosing this type of woman. Where are your morals and your values? If your values are misaligned, you will choose the wrong people. What is it that you want? Are you looking for a good woman to help you raise beautiful children and create a legacy? Then stop choosing women who only look like something and start choosing women who have something inside of them, something good to offer you. There are a lot of good women. There are a lot of good women on the planet, but a lot of them are overlooked because they don't have what you're looking for. Then I hear the men say, oh, women think they're bosses. I talked about this. Women think they're, they a bad bee and this and that, but they don't have anybody, because we're not choosing people who are emotionally unavailable. Like, that's what the women are saying. I'm only here to speak for the women. I don't, I'm telling you what I heard from my sisters, right? No longer are we putting up with men who are emotionally unavailable to us, because what we're finding is it's just the same situation over and over again. So you see a lot of successful women that are single because we are at peace. A lot of successful women are at peace. A lot of women. I help a lot of people in a lot of different ways. I don't talk about it publicly because it's a very intimate thing to help someone heal and grow through certain things and get to a place where they have this relationship with God, where they love themselves so fully and they find such peace within themselves. But I can tell you that every time I go through this process with people, and every time they, I'm like, do this, disconnect from this, do these things, they get to this other side and they're like, wow, like, I can't believe myself. I look and I feel so different. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start wrapping this up, but I want to say this. Our issues aren't with each other. Don't believe that what society has regurgitated to you. Don't believe all this that you're seeing on and all this discourse and women do this and women, everything is situational. A lot of people do a lot of things. Let's stop blaming each other for them and let's start looking in within. Let's start emotionally healing ourselves. Let's start working towards it. A lot of men don't go to therapy. I get that. And I understand why, because who wants to be vulnerable like that? But there are ways that you can kind of get those feelings and thoughts out and start understanding. You just have to go dig deep within yourself. Therapy is really good, but if you're not a therapy person, it comes from having a relationship with God. I'm sorry, there's no other way I can explain that. I don't want to sound churchy or preachy because y'all know I still got a foot in the streets. But I know God and I know peace and I know love and I know real happiness, and I want that for all of us. This is the wisdom that I'm trying to share here. So I know I didn't get love specific, but it's about love. Love of self will lead to love for each other. And that's kind of the where I was going with this. Did I get off topic? My nephew Aaron will tell me if I stayed on topic. He always like, yeah, you got off, but you always bring it back. He says I always bring it back. Really, this is more than one part. This might be part one. I might have more. We'll see. But for the sake of ending, I do want to say that we need to get to a point with one another. Like I said before, it's Venus and Mars. We are for each other. God created women to be a helpmate to men. Men, you need to understand that you need a good woman. God created good women for that. Proverbs 31. Look to read. Men, you read Proverbs 31. If not, ladies, most of us know the Proverbs 31 woman. Men, read that. I don't care of what nationality, what not nationality, what religion or whatever. I'm sure it's in your Bible someplace. Understand what a Proverbs 31 woman is like, or your Bible, your Quran, whatever book you read. I don't discriminate as long as you know God, okay? But truly, I want you all to do that work. If there's anything I can share with you, do that work. Take your 20s, get to know yourselves first. Don't be so quick to jump on a platform and talk about your past experiences, because that's all they were, was past experiences. We lacked the knowledge at 17, 18, 19, 20. We lacked the knowledge of ourselves for a long time. We jumped into situations, we got hurt from them, and now we're just spewing it all over the internet. And that's weird. Like, let's stop doing that. Let's start to get to know ourselves. And then from the understanding of self, I promise you, we will start making better choices and start living fuller, happier lives. And because I went so far over my time, I don't have a hot topic to share. I can't share anything with you. Thank you for listening. Find me on Instagram, find me on TikTok. I don't know why I say that. I don't post anything, but just follow me for the sake of following me. How about that? Okay. And I won't follow you back because I'm only following what I want to see. And right now I'm in a season of really guarding my gates, my eyes, what I hear, what I eat, all of that. I'm really, I got to be mindful of it because I feel feelings so deeply. Anyway, thank you as always for listening. I love you, Ma. Call me.